Imagine having a massive competitive advantage in your career, like something totally free.
Right.
It requires no special software, no subscriptions, and it's literally available to you right now.
Yeah. But there is a catch.
Oh, a huge catch. Because it requires you to do the one thing, I mean, the exact thing modern society has trained you to absolutely hate.
Sitting in a room completely alone.
Alone, in absolute silence, just confronting a really hard problem.
It sounds almost too simple when you frame it like that.
Right.
But honestly, that is the reality of the landscape we're operating in right now.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are looking at a text that makes a fiercely compelling argument about this exact advantage. It's this concept known as deep work.
We are essentially talking about the ultimate hidden advantage. It's
Okay.
entirely invisible, and yet it is the single greatest predictor of high-level output in the knowledge economy.
So our mission today is to break down what this state of mind actually is and explore the biological and, frankly, the economic reasons why the modern world makes it so incredibly rare.
And most importantly, we want to dissect how you can actually engineer it in your own life to separate yourself from the crowd.
Because right now, the crowd is fundamentally distracted.
They really are. And the core argument we're examining is that your ability to concentrate deeply, it's not just like a nice productivity hack.
Right.
It is a foundational survival skill for anyone trying to create real value today.
Okay, let's unpack this. To really appreciate the mechanics of deep work, we first have to look at the environment it exists in.
The baseline condition of the modern worker.
Exactly. And the writing we're examining, it paints a fairly brutal picture of our current reality. It argues that our attention isn't just divided, it's structurally shattered.
Shattered is really the right word. The text makes a crucial distinction between tasks that actually move the needle, the ones requiring intense cognitive lift, and the environment we actually try to do them in.
Which is usually a total nightmare.
Oh, it's chaotic. I mean, the primary culprits here are ubiquitous connectivity. Slack channels, constantly refreshing emails, social media algorithms.
Algorithms literally engineered to hijack your dopamine systems.
Right. The environment just relentlessly pushes you into what the author defines as shallow work.
Shallow work. Let's define that clearly because it is insidious.
It really is.
It's those non-cognitively demanding logistical tasks. They're super easy to replicate. They often look like work, but they ultimately hold no real lasting value.
Yeah, like responding to a massive email thread about scheduling a Tuesday meeting, it feels like motion,
You feel busy.
right? You get a tiny neurological reward for hitting send. You cross something off a list, but you haven't created anything new.
No.
You haven't solved the complex problem, and you definitely haven't improved your skill set. You are essentially just performing the aesthetics of productivity.
Reading through this analysis of shallow work, I was trying to visualize what it actually does to the brain. Because it isn't just a benign waste of time, it actively damages your capacity to focus.
Hintly.
It's like trying to tread water in this incredibly noisy, crowded pool. Like you feel exhausted, you feel like you're moving your arms and legs frantically, but you're not actually getting anywhere, you're just staying afloat.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Or the text points to a neuroscience perspective. It's like trying to ride a bicycle uphill and violently shifting the gears back and forth every 5 seconds.
Oh, man, yeah, the chain just slips.
Yeah, exactly. You're pedaling furiously, you're exhausted, but you lose all your momentum. Every time you shift your attention from, say, a complex spreadsheet to check a quick text message and then try to shift back, there is a massive cognitive penalty.
Right, and the psychology research highlighted in our materials refers to this as attentional residue.
Attentional residue, yes.
So wait, part of your brain is literally stuck on the previous task.
Precisely. When you switch tasks, your attention doesn't immediately follow. A fraction of your cognitive processing power is just left behind. It's still thinking about that text message or that unread Slack notification.
It's terrifying.
It is. Because if you are checking your inbox every 10 minutes, your brain is just coated in a thick layer of this residue all day long. You are never operating at full capacity.
Which brings up an interesting friction point, because intuitively we know this, right?
We feel it.
Yeah, we know that frantic multitasking leaves us feeling totally drained and unaccomplished by like 5 p.m. So I have to ask, if shallow work is so low value and we feel the negative effects of all that attentional residue, why is it so incredibly easy to get sucked into? Why do we default to it so readily?
Well, it comes down to the path of least resistance. Shallow work is clear, it's immediately actionable, and it provides instant validation.
Yeah, checking off those little boxes feels good.
It does. Whereas tackling a genuinely difficult, ambiguous problem is just, well, it's uncomfortable. It requires intense cognitive strain.
But the world rewards the opposite of shallow work.
Exactly. The economic reality the text points out is undeniable. The market does not pay a premium for shallow work. The real rewards, the significant breakthroughs, they go to those who can learn difficult things quickly.
The people who can think with true depth.
Yes, the people who bring excellence to their output. That's why the brain operating at full capacity is so highly prized.
And you cannot produce at an elite level if your brain is constantly leaking energy.
You simply can't. Which is why the countermeasure, deep work, is defined as tackling those difficult, high-value tasks with absolute concentration. Zero interruptions, zero distractions.
Pushing your cognitive capabilities to their absolute limit.
Right. That state of frictionless, total immersion is where actual value is generated.
Okay, so we have this attention epidemic, and the antidote is deep work. If this level of intense concentration is the only way to produce extraordinary results, let's look at the case studies.
Yeah, let's look at the proof.
Because the text grounds this theory in some incredibly heavy hitters across vastly different domains. I mean, we're looking at Carl Jung, Bill Gates, J.K. Rowling.
What's fascinating here is that you have the pioneer of analytical psychology, the birth of personal computing, and one of the most successful literary franchises in history.
Right. And you look at these figures, and it's so tempting to just, attribute their success to a genetic lottery. Like, oh, they were just born smarter or wildly more creative.
But the common denominator highlighted across all these case studies isn't raw, innate genius.
No. It's the structure of their focus. It's the obsessive habit of long, uninterrupted, isolated concentration.
Exactly. They systematically designed their lives to eliminate the noise so they could engage in deep work. Jung built a literal stone tower in the woods.
Right.
Gates famously took his isolated think weeks in a cabin.
Okay, but I have to stop you there and play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
Because if I'm listening to this right now, maybe I'm commuting or I'm sitting at a crowded desk in a cubicle, I'm thinking, well, that is incredibly convenient for a billionaire tech founder or a famous psychiatrist.
Sure.
But they're extreme outliers. Is this really something the average knowledge worker, someone juggling a regular job, a busy life, a boss demanding 5-minute Slack response times can actually do? Or is this just a luxury for the elite who can afford a cabin in the woods?
It is a totally valid pushback. And the text actually anticipates this exact friction. It acknowledges that it's brutal for the average worker right now.
It really is.
The modern office is fundamentally hostile to deep work. But the core thesis here fiercely rejects the idea that focus is a luxury or some innate talent.
Right.
It argues that deep work is absolutely not restricted to a single type of person. It is simply a skill. And like playing the guitar or lifting weights, it is entirely learnable by anyone. You, us, everyone.
So it's a muscle, not a personality trait.
What's fascinating here is how the reading strips away the romantic mystique of success. It says, look, these greats didn't achieve what they did because they were touched by magic.
Yeah.
They achieved it through a specific mechanical application of human focus.
Yeah.
And you possess the exact same neurological machinery.
Which is very reassuring.
Yeah. Now, if you work in an open plan office,
Yeah.
you can't vanish to a stone tower for a month, but you can aggressively negotiate boundaries to carve out 1 hour. The text is very pragmatic about this. You adapt the principle to your reality, but you do not excuse yourself from the practice.
I really appreciate that framing. It takes this lofty historical concept and drops it right onto our daily to-do lists, which brings us to the actual mechanics.
As a toolkit.
Right. How does someone actively build this skill starting today? Because the material provides a highly specific, everyday toolkit to essentially rehabilitate your attention span.
And it starts with retraining that neurological muscle we just talked about.
Exactly. The first major practical step is what we can call the 60 to 90-minute sprint. The instructions are stark. You pick one genuinely difficult, important task. Just one.
One task.
And then, and the text is entirely uncompromising on this point, you put your mobile phone completely out of reach.
Completely. Not face down on the desk, not in your pocket on silent. Physically out of reach. In another room or inside a drawer you can't easily open.
Why the extreme physical separation? Like, is just turning it over really not enough?
No, it's not, because of the proximity effect on our dopamine systems.
Okay, explain that.
Well, your brain has been conditioned over thousands of hours to associate that rectangular piece of glass with a sudden influx of novel information. And dopamine,
Right.
So if it is in your visual field, or even if you just know it's in your pocket,
Yeah.
a background process in your brain is constantly monitoring it, wondering if it's going to buzz.
Wow.
That requires energy. You are generating attentional residue just by having the device nearby. Removing it physically removes the cognitive tax of resisting it.
That makes total sense. So the phone is gone. You set a timer for 60 to 90 minutes. And you work on that single hard problem without stopping.
Oh, stopping.
No opening a new browser tab, check the news, no getting up to look in the fridge, just unbroken cognitive strain.
And the expectation is that the first 15 minutes are going to be agonizing.
Oh, absolutely brutal.
Your brain, which is addicted to the high-frequency switching of shallow work, will literally scream at you for a distraction. You have to sit through the withdrawal.
But there is a massive payoff to sitting through that discomfort, because the material outlines a specific 30-day promise. It argues that if you execute this single focused sprint every day for just 30 days, your brain physically adapts.
Yes, it becomes sharper, calmer, and more disciplined. We are talking about actual neuroplasticity here.
Okay, wait, let's go deeper on that mechanism. What is actually happening in the brain when we force that focus for a month?
So the science integrated into this concept points to a substance in the brain called myelin. Yeah, it's a layer of fatty tissue that grows around our neural circuits. When you force your brain into a state of absolute sustained focus, you are repeatedly firing specific neural circuits associated with that task.
Okay.
And the more you fire a specific circuit, say, by intensely focusing on a complex coding problem, the more myelin wraps around those exact neurons.
Like wrapping electrical tape around a wire.
Exactly like biological insulation. It makes those specific neural pathways fire faster, cleaner, and with less effort in the future.
That is wild.
So by forcing just 60 minutes of deep work a day, you are literally, physically upgrading your brain's hardware. You are rewiring your baseline ability to focus.
That is a staggering return on investment for just 1 hour a day. But the sprint is only half of the equation presented in the reading, right?
Correct.
There is a second critical step that happens long after the sprint is over, and it doesn't involve working on your primary tasks at all.
The evening reflection. A 20-minute daily habit at the very end of your workday.
Right. You shut down your computer, and you ask yourself 3 highly specific questions. What did I do well today? What couldn't I accomplish? And what do I need to improve tomorrow?
Simple enough.
Now, I'm going to push back heavily on this.
Go for it.
We're talking about deep work. So why is spending 20 minutes just thinking about your day so crucial to this process? To the skeptical listener, sitting quietly and journaling about your feelings at 5 p.m. sounds exactly like the kind of shallow performative work we're trying to eradicate.
That's a fair reaction.
How does sitting there just thinking about work actually move the needle? How is this not just splashing around in the shallow end?
It's a critical pushback, but it kind of misunderstands the function of the reflection. This isn't about journaling your feelings. It's about cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloader.
Right. You have to understand how the brain handles incomplete tasks. In psychology, there is a mechanism where uncompleted tasks take up active background processing power in your mind.
The open loops.
Yes, open loops. If you log off at 5 p.m., but you haven't mentally resolved a project that went off the rails, your brain keeps trying to solve it while you're eating dinner, while you're trying to sleep.
It's the equivalent of leaving heavy software running in the background on your computer. Like, it drains the battery, even if the screen is technically off.
Exactly. The evening reflection is a hard mechanical stop. When you formally write down what you couldn't accomplish and exactly what you need to improve tomorrow, you are telling your brain, look, I have captured this information. We have a plan for it.
Ah, so it closes the open loops.
It closes the loops. This prevents work from bleeding into your recovery time. Deep work requires immense energy, which means it requires high-quality, absolute rest. You cannot rest if your brain is constantly chewing on unresolved friction from the workday.
So it's not just a productivity hack where you're trying to squeeze more tasks onto a checklist. It's a structural way to clear the mind and protect your cognitive energy for the next day's sprint.
Precisely. It ensures you are getting better every single day. Furthermore, asking what you need to improve creates this ruthless, continuous feedback loop of growth.
You have to be honest with yourself.
Brutally honest. Did your attention slip? Did you accidentally leave your email open? Did you bail on the sprint at the 45-minute mark because it got too hard?
Right. You identify the failure point and you adjust the parameters for tomorrow. It transitions you from a life of frantic, shallow reactions to a life of highly intentional design.
Because it demands a holistic shift in how you value your own attention. Deep work isn't just a hack. The source insists it is an entire lifestyle that pulls you out of the daily noise and toward meaningful work.
I'm drawing this all together for you listening. The ultimate takeaway from this material is a massive structural shift in perspective. We live in a society that is entirely defined by distraction. The algorithms, the office culture, the endless notifications, it is the water we swim in. But the paradox here is deeply empowering. Because distraction is everywhere, and because everyone around you is suffering from chronic attentional residue, your ability to cultivate depth is your greatest possible strength.
It creates a tremendous asymmetry.
Exactly. While your peers are exhausted from shifting gears all day, you are building the neural circuits required to solve the hardest problems in your field. It is what creates actual value and separates you from the crowd.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text leaves us with a fundamentally provocative framework for auditing our own lives.
Yeah, let's leave them with this thought.
The source argues, uncompromisingly, that only work done in true depth creates real value. And that raises a deeply personal, uncomfortable question.
Let's lay it out there.
If that's true, I want you to look back at your own life over the last week. Audit your hours. Be brutally honest with yourself. How many of those hours were actually spent creating undeniable value in a state of absolute focus?
And how many were just spent reacting to the noise?
It's exactly. Managing the residue and treading water.
Wow. That is a heavy metric to measure your week against. It instantly exposes the illusion of busyness, doesn't it?
It's meant to be a wake-up call. It's the diagnostic tool you need before you can start building the muscle.
Well, on that note, we want to warmly thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope unpacking these mechanisms has given you a completely new perspective on the true value of your own attention.
Absolutely.
And what you are genuinely capable of when you strip away the noise. We highly encourage you to try turning off your phone for 60 minutes today. Don't wait for the perfect environment.
Just try the first step. Take the phone, physically remove it from the room, and set a timer. Sit through the friction.
See what your brain can actually do when it isn't constantly shifting gears. Because at the end of the day, acquiring a modern superpower doesn't require a genetic miracle. It just requires 60 minutes, a timer, and the willingness to go deep. Thanks for listening.